Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare
Gauranga
Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare
Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama
Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Jaya Prabhupada
Prabhupada Prabhupada Prabhupada
Nitai Gaur Hari Bol कीर्तन यज्ञ की, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय, गौर हरि प्रेमानंदे।
Poquito. Do you have a harmonium too? I know it's a lot to ask at the last minute. Is there a harmonist in the house? Someone who can follow perfectly anything that I sing? Huh? Do you have a harmonist? Okay. Radha Krishna bol bol, bolo re shobai. Shika diya, shobno diya, preche neche go nitai. Hari bolo re shikariya. Hari bolo re shikariya. Radha Krishna bolo re shobha. Radha Krishna bolo re shobha. Niche maya boshe jacho beshe kacho ha buru bubai. Haribo bolo re miche mayar boshe. Radha Krishna bolbo bolo re shobai. Shri Radha Krishna bolbo bolo re shobai. Shiv Krishna Das Vishwas kole tor duko nai. Haribo bolo re Jiv Krishna Das. Radha Krishna bolbo bolo re shobai. Shri Radha Krishna bolbo bolo re shobai. Krishna bolbe jabe pulaka hobe jorbi anki boli. Thai everybody. Pulaka hobe. Krishna bolbe jabe pulaka habe jordi anki boli thai. Pulaka habe. Haribo bolo Krishna bolbe jabe. Radha Krishna bolbo bolo re shobai. Shri Radha Krishna bolbo bolo re shobai. Radha Krishna bolo shange cholo e matra bika chai. Radha Krishna, what oh Shangi Cholo, e Matra Dika Chai. Radha Krishna, Hari Bolo, Radha Krishna Bolo. Radha Krishna bolbo bolo re shobai. Shri Radha Krishna bolbo bolo re shobai. Jai Saklavi pod Bhakti Vinod bolen jakunom nam gai. Jai Saklavi pod Bhakti Vinod bolen jakunom nam gai. Jai Bhakti Vinod Hari
bolo re jai sakla vipor. Radha Krishna bolo re shobai. Shri Radha Krishna bolo re shobai. Jai Shakla Vipor Bhakti Vinod Bolen Jatu Nandam Jai. Radha Krishna bolo Shange Sholo E Matra Vika Chai Krishna bolo Shange Sholo Krishna Bode Jabe Pulaka Habe Jorbe Anti Bole Krishna Jiv Krishna Das Se Vishwas Bole To Ardiko Najiv Krishna Das Miche Maya Boshe Jacho Beshe Kacho Habu Upai Shikariya Shabnariya Pricheni Chigonitai Shikariya Shabnariya Pricheni Chigonitai Haribo Shikariya Shabnariya Pricheni Chigonitai Haribo 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Nitai Gaur Premanande. Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Sankirtan Movement Ki. Shri Harinam Prabhu Ki. Shri Sankirtan Yagya Ki, Gaur Premanande, Nitai Gaura Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaura Haribo. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militram Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Sri Guru Sri Uta Padakamalam Sri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Sri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatham Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sadvadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Shitapadan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitanscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Nitai Namine Che
Namirhate Shadamuyenam Tite Chere. Nitai. Namineche. Namirhate Shadamuyenam Tite Chere. Nitai Namineche. Namirhate Shadamuyenam Tite Chere. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Thank you very much, everyone, for coming to discuss the art of book distribution. And what a great day for it. Any day's a great day when we're able to engage in the service of our acharyas and following in the footsteps of Srila Prabhupada, who gave his life and soul to printing the Bhagavad Gita as it is. We have such an opportunity to do some service that will be counted and recorded. And yesterday we discussed for quite some time about various aspects of the distribution of books. And some of you last night near the end said you wanted to hear more tips. And someone else said they wanted to hear stories. So, since I can't remember anything that happened in the last 50 years, we'll just have to make some news stories today. And later, we'll meet after we go out for book distribution, and we'll talk about what we saw, what we heard, what we felt, what the interactions were. That's worth hearing. When we're fresh off the Sankirtan trail, and we get to hear the experiences and realizations of the devotees. And yesterday we discussed about presenting the Bhagavad Gita to Indians. I've noticed here in India there's quite a few Indians. So it's probably a good idea to orient ourselves in such a way that we can accommodate them. And one thought I just had while I was singing was that it's a greatly compassionate act to take a little trouble upon oneself, to go outside one's comfort zone, to do something good for others. And this kind of service, that is teaching Krishna consciousness to others, even though it requires taking a little risk. First risk, as we talked about last night, was to our own egos. The fact that we may be rejected. That was one of the psychological points that many of us mentioned yesterday. We feel a little bit afraid when we go out for various reasons. There's some fear of what might happen. And it's helpful to orient ourselves towards what we're doing. We're doing what is the purpose of the material world in the first place, which is to bring the souls back to Krishna, to reawaken their relationship with Krishna. And if we remember how important it is, and we also remember that taking the trouble to go out on book distribution is a tapasya that is counted as the parama aradhanam. It's the best kind of worship. In fact, Archaryam eva haraye pujam yasharaye hate na tad bhakteshu chanyeshu sabhakta prakrita smritaha. In the discussion between King Nimi and the Yogendras, Havi Yogendra mentions that there are 3 levels of devotees. I just quoted a verse in which he gives a definition of the beginning level of devotees, the Kanishta Adhikari, called Prakrita Bhakta. And he says that they're mostly interested in worshipping the deity in the temple. They may not recognize when a devotee comes. As it is mentioned in the Shastras and in the Padhatis, that we follow for deity worship. If a Vaishnava comes when we're worshipping the deities, we're supposed to stop worshipping the deity and worship the devotee, welcome the devotee, make sure the devotee is satisfied. Then we can go back to worshipping Krishna. In the story of Bahulashva and Shrutadev, as you know, one was a king and the other was a very poor man, but they were both pure devotees, and the Lord came to see him along with all of his associates. And when he was visiting, which was the king? Bahulashva or Shrutadev? Somebody look it up quickly if you can. And he was visiting the poor devotee, and the devotee, Bahulashva was the king. So Shrutadev, when he went to Shrutadev's house, actually he went to both their houses at the same time. He expanded himself, and he expanded the sages that he came with him. And Shrutadev, the poor man, was glorifying Krishna again and again. And Krishna stopped him and said, "Don't glorify me so much. The sages are here with me. You should glorify them first." So, Archaryam eva hariye pujam yashrayete natad bhakteshu chanyeshu. The Kanishta Adhikari is defined by the fact that he doesn't recognize devotees. He just sees Krishna. Everybody else is the same. He doesn't know Krishneti yasa giritam manasa driyeta dikshasti che pranati bishta bhajantam isham shushushaya bhajanam viknyamananyanam anya nindari shunya hridamipsita sangalabhya. That you're supposed to honor devotees at various levels. The one who says Hare Krishna, what do? Manasadriyeta. In your mind, you should offer obeisances to a person, anybody who can say Hare Krishna, even if they don't say it very nicely. And then those who have Diksha, they've taken a vow to chant Hare Krishna, what should we do? You take some trouble, really go out of your way to offer obeisances. Put your head on the ground, do this, offer dandavats, make it demonstrative. And for the person who's excelled in chanting Hare Krishna, whose heart in Dadi Shunya, it's free from the propensity to criticize others out of envy, then that person we should try to associate with, serve, give our life to, and so forth. But a Kanishta Adhikari can't see that, doesn't know how to worship devotees. Or cha anyeshu means other people too, means all living entities. But a Madhyamadhikari knows tapyante lokatapena sarava prayasojana parama aradhanam tadi purushasyaki latmana. This was the observation of Shukadev. During the pastime of the churning of the milk ocean, Shiva had volunteered to save the universe as such a magnanimous soul by drinking off the poison that was threatening everyone. And his wife said, "Yeah, you can do it." Left a blue mark on his throat. And Shukadev Goswami, in describing this compassionate action, said that this is the hallmark of the advanced devotee, that he or she knows how to do good for others and notices that the Supreme Lord is within everyone's heart, and furthermore knows what the purpose of the creation is. The Shrishti Leela is really Krishna extending the world so that the souls have an opportunity to come back to Godhead. In fact, you find in the 5th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, Sankarsana, near the end of 311 trillion years of the material world being extant, becomes a little annoyed because so many people said no to us on Sankirtan. Anyone said, no, I'm okay, I don't need that? Yes or no? Yes. Yeah. And the Sankarshan becomes a little annoyed that he's given so many opportunities to devotees, to people in general, to take up Krishna consciousness, the purpose of the universe, but they didn't do it. And that's when the 11 Rudras pop out from his forehead, when he's a little annoyed. And they start doing their dance of destruction. And they burn down the universe, just so he can start it again. Yashaika nishvasitakala matavalambya comes out. The universe comes out again, and the same purpose is there, to give everyone a chance to come back in contact with Krishna and go back to Godhead. So the devotee knows the purpose of the creation, and then takes the trouble. It's trouble, isn't it? To go outside. It's easier just to stay in your apartment, right? Not really, but it gets boring. But in any case, it is tapasya, and it's that kind of tapasya that's called parama aradhanam, because you know that Krishna is within everyone's heart, and that's where you're doing your puja. That's where you can really offer real puja, is offering people a chance to take Bhagavad Gita or any number of other literatures. So knowing that you're doing the right thing is helpful, and it can give courage, even in the face of fear, that what might happen when I go out. And you can just remember, this is the best way to worship the Lord. It's the best kind of puja, to approach people who are ignorant of Krishna consciousness or just being lazy about it. Maybe they know they should do it, but they just don't know how to start. They need a little bit of association. So if you volunteer to do that, after Prabhupada had said, now kindly help me. He printed all these books, he said, now kindly help me. And if someone says, help you what? Just say what it is, I'll do it. That's intelligence. If you figure out what a pure devotee wants, and then you say, I'll do it, be the first one to put your hand up. Try it. Yeah, start it here. That's how ready we should be. Move to the edge of your seat. In 1975, when Prabhupada came to Los Angeles, he wanted to print the Chaitanya Charitamrita fast. He didn't know how long he'd have left, but there was another reason. There was a professor in Chicago, he was coming out with a Chaitanya Charitamrita. And Prabhupada didn't want his to come out first. In fact, it never did come out, the other one. But it loomed. And Prabhupada told the devotees, I want it in 2 months, which was faster than anyone could have even imagined that anything could be done like that. It just takes so long, especially the paintings. Just one painting would take 2 months, what to speak of all the books all at once. And Prabhupada had called all the GBCs to come to Los Angeles because he wanted to make the statement in front of everybody. It was how important it was to him. And he had told the BBT administrators at that time he wanted it in 2 months. One of them had said it's impossible. Prabhupada said impossible's a word in A. And when Prabhupada gave the Bhagavatam class, if you watch the video where everyone's leaning forward to hear, what does Prabhupada want? Why did he call us all here? Ready to hear, like, what's one thing he wants us to do? And he said, print as many books in as many languages and distribute throughout the world. And that the way Krishna conscious movement will go on automatically. And Prabhupada wanted to be clear, he wanted to be demonstrative. And if you can find out what the Acharya wants and then do it, even if you're not good at it, who cares? And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu went to South India, there was an illiterate Brahmana there. Sounds like a contradiction in terms, but it happens. And he was asked by his guru to recite the whole Bhagavad Gita every day. And in his own faulty way, apparently faulty, he was reciting and people made fun of him. But when Mahaprabhu approached him and observed what he was doing and saw that the man was emotional while he was reading the Bhagavad Gita, and he queried, "Why are you emotional?" And he said, "Because when I read about how Arjuna asked Krishna to bring my chariot, and then Krishna complied." And he thought, Krishna's so kind to his devotees that he's Ajita becomes Jita. And he said, "That's why I cry." And Mahaprabhu said, "Your recitation of Bhagavad Gita is perfect. Others may do it eloquently with perfect Sanskrit pronunciation." Similarly, who cares how good you are at book distribution? Everyone has their own genius, Prabhupada said, 1975, Vrindavan. And he said, if you're sincere and you try, then the master within your heart will show you how to do it. And I've seen over the years, I remember different devotees who came out for book distribution. Of course, he's a very capable person, but he mumbles when he talks. And I just remember thinking, he'll never be able to sell any books. And I'd see him over talking to people, mumble, 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 and next thing people were buying books. When I was in London, I took a devotee out. He had a request to take him out on book distribution for his first time. There's one small point, and that was he was deaf and dumb. And we went out, he had an interpreter with him who could sign and then tell the people what he was saying. His first day out, he sold more books than anybody. He had a desire to do it, and Krishna makes it work. Everyone has their own genius, Prabhupada said, in how to present. So it's not formulaic, although I sometimes present formulas because then at least you have a template to start from so you don't feel like you're at a loss. The main point is to be enthusiastic, and His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj says this many times, that he tried to sell books in a bookstore, which is still a good idea, but when he first did it, he advertised, he put a lot of effort into it, and not much result. And Prabhupada said after His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj had reported this, that that's because my books are sold by the enthusiasm of my devotees. Utsahan. In the Chicago airport, it's a smooth floor. We used to wear shoes that had a smooth bottom to them. And one of the ways we distributed books is we'd see somebody and we'd run and then slide. We had so much energy. And we'd slide, ask them where they're coming in from. And they just see somebody sliding at them. And we didn't say much, but they noticed the enthusiasm, so they felt like, I should take this, because I want to also feel enthusiastic about life. Maybe there's something in these books. So it's not a formula, but it comes from our hearts. If we desire to do something of service that's pleasing to Prabhupada, the disciplic succession, to Krishna, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, then we just find a way. And Krishna gives intelligence. He gives the genius how to do it. So we could just try. And book distribution also is quantifiable. You can count up how you did. You bring a box out, it's got 24 units in it. When you come home and there's only 4 left, how many books did you distribute? Correct. And you can measure it and see, like, how did I do? How many went out? You can measure everything. Whatever you can measure, then you can try to improve and see if we did a little better next time. So that's really important. And also, it's an opportunity to work together to figure out ways to refine the service. And you're a team. You have a whole template here. You've been given a whole city where you can work together. One of the ways that we find that you can increase is to brainstorm, come together and mention what's working well and where there's room for improvement. And you write them all down, and then you can then prioritize the things where you need to improve, and you can work on them. And when you do that, then everyone will notice that things are improving and it gets better. So Krishna reveals how to distribute books in different circumstances. I may have mentioned that when we do our yatras, I'm just going to a yatra now actually. We're on our way. We're going to Calcutta. We'll be there for 3 days. Then we're going to Mayapur for, 8-10 days or something. It's a youth yatra. Kids 14 to 25. At all our yatras, we always bring books. And several years ago, when we started this Sankirtan Yatra, not just a yatra where you go to places and you worship there, but along the way we distribute lollipops offered to Krishna. Prabhupada authorized that in 1972. Bhakti Gopal was temple president in Cleveland. He saw the Salvation Army giving out candy canes during Christmas. So he got some candy canes to assist on the Sankirtan. And then somebody complained and said that he was making some offense by selling or giving candy canes along with the book distribution. And then Prabhupada, after inquiring a little bit about it, said, what is the harm? In India, pujaris all the time, they buy some sugar candy from the shop and then they offer it and it becomes Mahaprasadam, so you can do the same thing. So we have lollipops, and there's nobody on the planet that I've found yet that doesn't like a lollipop. It's candy on a stick. There's nothing wrong with that. Even monkeys like it. They know what it is. I was just in Vrindavan and I threw one to a monkey and he just grabbed it. And John Sununu was a high-placed political person in America, and he just happened to be in the airport when he walked by, and I handed him a lollipop, and he just put it in his mouth. He didn't even ask who I was. So there's lollipops, and we also distribute Jagannath stickers, and then books. And several years ago when we were there, we had devotees from Japan, China, the UK, and America. And we equipped everybody with a book bag. And one of the secret ways that we learned in the airports years ago, because we meet so many people while we worked at International, how do you distribute a book to somebody who doesn't speak your language? And I'll tell you a secret. Shall I tell you a secret? That's about a 50-50. 50% of you didn't say Haribol, cover your ears. It's easier to sell a book to somebody when you don't speak their language. Did you know that? So we use language cards. We developed a system. We've got most of the languages on our website. You can download them, print them. I have a small set here. I have one in my bag too that's even better than this. I'll show you in a second. But here's a few languages. Here's Hindi, Bangla, and Oriyan on these 3 cards. Mine have a little extra. Of course, depending on where you're going, you should always figure out which language cards you want to use. But mine have Hindi, Bangla, Oriyan, and the code. And of course, this is a little patch that has Hare Krishna Maha Mantra in most of the common Indian languages. so that somebody can say Hare Krishna. And they're all on this. And when I use my bag, excuse me, I don't know what that was. What? Oh, there's a cowbell in there. I hang it off of this. So when I'm walking around, here's what we found out in Jagannath Puri. I told you last night there's a key. There's a lock, and there's a key that can open it. So here it is. I got my things hanging off here, and I have books in here. And I just noticed one day when we were walking around distributing books, and we were at a train station, and there was this really nice couple that they were a rickshaw couple. That was their family business. Each of them drove a rickshaw. When I went over to show them the books, they got up, they kicked off their shoes, and they took out a bottle of water, and they both did a little achman from the bottle before they even... One day, we were having a Harinam, which actually goes first. Chronologically, the first thing happened. We were having a Harinam somewhere in Alalanath, and this man on a motorcycle got off, and he started screaming at us. And later, I asked our guide there, what happened? And he said, oh, you were having Harinam? Were you wearing shoes? And he said, yes. He was upset. You're on Harinam with shoes. So then I put the two and two together and realized that if you approach somebody in Orissa, as soon as you kick off your shoes, they'll kick their shoes off. And the next thing is, we hand them a lollipop, a Jagannath sticker, a book, and then this. And you just pick the language. And then the rule is that we don't say anything. And as soon as you hand them the three things, you show them the card, and it's on a string so they don't think that's part of the deal, that they walk away with this. And then we just stand, if you know Iyengar yoga, in mountain pose. And you don't move, and you just wait. And they know that they know what this means. And then it's binary, it's just yes or no, are you going to do it or not? And as it turns out, everyone will give a donation. You know, I discovered something about India. Everybody has rupees. Everybody. In fact, there was a ditch digger, and he barely had any clothes on at all. I mean, so hot in Puri, and he was digging a ditch. And we approached him, kicked off our shoes, he kicked his shoes off, and then showed him the books, showed him the deal. And I was thinking, he's got a gamsha and one of those, T-shirts that's barely there, no arms or anything like that. Where's it? And then, he saw the message, and then out of the gamsha, it was rolled up. He pulls out these rupees, and it's happened several times. I notice it's there. Everyone has rupees in India. So I just gave this as an example of an evolution of a thought process of how to approach people. And then, of course, we came to Mayapur after that, and Madhav, who's Achintya Krishna's son, how old is he? 11? He's 12. Yeah, I showed him the technique, and it worked in Mayapur. It's not 100% with the shoes kicking off, because some people, it's a slightly different culture, but the whole procedure of showing the cards. And you said 12? Madhav is a very serious devotee. We have a program at Govardhan every year where we go during Kartik and we listen to Bhagavatam for 5 hours a day. We invite people can come. We have a room that accommodates about 20 people, and then outside we have a theater where they can sit and listen. So Madhava, he came with his father. He wanted to come in here, and he's very attentive. He can listen for 5 hours a day. Even his grandfather passed away while he was there, and he went home for a few days, and he came right back, all the way from Mayapur to Vrindavan. Anyway, Madhava, he saw the technique, and he took it up with a vow. Do you know how many he took? Do you have the scores? Do you have an extra microphone? You can give it to Sudhir Madhava. Oh, here you go. Hey, that looks like good stuff. We'll try that next. Yes, go ahead. I'll give you an estimate. He'll verify it later, but Madhava using this technique in Mayapur, just walking around the campus, distributed, just give me an estimate. 10,000 books. In how many months? No, it was less. It was 2 months. 2 months, 10,000 books. He's a 12-year-old kid. And he just followed the method. So this is another clue about how to do book distribution. Find somebody who's cracked the code somewhere and just follow what they do. And you'll be successful. Krishna gives intelligence to a devotee, and then if you listen to what they're saying, if they're doing well, and you just start emulating what they do, then you'll also do well, following in the footsteps. Plagiarism is allowed in the parampara. Nobody minds if you do well based on what they did. It's actually our system. So, the other point I'd like to make is that when we meet people, it's important to remember that this is not for points. We're not trying to rack up points. We're trying to make a heart-to-heart connection with people. And if you care about them and you appreciate them, don't worry so much about your agenda, just try to think about what they're possibly going through and try to extend yourself as a friend. So there's several steps that I use, as I mentioned last night. One of them is to try to figure out how open the person is by saying hi to them and just noticing their reaction. And anything above 5, which means smile with teeth. Smile with no teeth, didn't quite make it. And then I ask them a question, because a question is a hook. Whoever's asking a question is leading the conversation. And I'll say, I'm from California, where are you from? Because it's only polite to say where you're from first. You can say, I'm from, where are you from? Mumbai. What part of Mumbai? Huh? Andheri? From Juhu. I'm from Juhu. Where are you from? Or wherever it is. And then when they say, then you appreciate where they're from. And then based on that qualification, then we show them a book. And then explain the book. And one of the most effective ways of showing a book to people is to show the pictures and tell a story. Facts tell, but stories sell. And also mentioning that it's an authorized book. And the part that many people become worried about or stuck about is asking for donation. So the way I ask for donations is I say that we don't sell these like in a bookstore. We take a donation. I say we don't need the money, but it's an ancient principle that when you give something in return for spiritual knowledge, it connects you to the previous teachers who have passed it down over many generations, and it allows you to enter into the knowledge. The point is, the money, the exchange, it's not for me, it's for you. In fact, I'll say that. I'll say, giving something is a kind of penance that allows you to appreciate, to enter into the book. That's different from this book costs $8 and they say, yeah, but I can get it for $7 somewhere else. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about you giving something in return so that you can get to a level of consciousness that you can appreciate it, that you don't take it for granted. And that's the mood in which I ask for donations. I frame it like that. It helps me also because I'm not just selling books, but I'm looking to help the person take the next step so that they can enter into the knowledge. And then, as a summary, I discovered with Indians, handing them a Bhagavad Gita, if you hand them any book, they'll say the same thing, which is like, oh, I already have Bhagavad Gita. Doesn't matter which one you hand them. You give them the Bhagavatam and say, I already have the Bhagavad Gita. And if you say, this is not the Bhagavad Gita, then they may double down and say, well, I have everything and I know everything. So I had recommended yesterday trying, as part of your core and explore, when you approach Indians, that don't give them anything. And make sure nobody else does either. If you have a friend with you and they try to be overly helpful while you're talking to somebody and they hand them a card, then you're finished. Because once you give them a card, they'll go, fine, I'll get in touch. So don't give them a card. And if they ask what your website is, or do you have a website, say, yeah, we have a website. But just don't tell them what it is. Because we want an interaction now is to go as far as possible. So I first ask them where they're from and appreciate it, and then appreciate the fact that they already have knowledge of what we're doing. And I told you yesterday, I say that as you know better than me, the greatest asset we have. First I say that there are many problems in the world. There's a lot of friction. And there's friction between countries, between people, and there's a lot of anxiety. And that the solution to all these problems comes from a spiritual level. And as you know better than me, India has the greatest wealth of spiritual knowledge to offer to the world. In fact, just as an aside, when Prabhu had first gone to the UK, and the reporters asked him why he had come there, he said, well, you had been in India for 200 years, and you took all of the wealth. You know, they decimated means 1 out of 10, so it was more than that. The mill industry or the loom industry, and the East India Trading Company had ruined commerce in India and so forth, but they also plundered, and they took jewels and they brought them back. And so Prabhupada said, I brought the jewel that you forgot to take while you were there. You forgot something. It's this. And so in expressing to Indians about we have the greatest asset in the world, and it's great help to the world, and you already know this, so we're just doing a fundraiser, to spread it to other people. So I say that first with Indians. So it's a few summary thoughts, some of what we talked about yesterday, and some thoughts that I already had on my mind this morning as a foundational aspect of what we're doing here, what the service really means. And before I go to some other points, which I may do as an answer to any questions, I'd like to see if you have any specific questions left over from yesterday or generated afresh this morning or this afternoon. If you have one on your mind, you can just go ahead and ask it. It'll get things started. Yes.
Someone told me that this is not the right Bhagavad Gita that you are distributing.
Someone told you that?
It's not the original one, yes.
Out of how many people do you get somebody that says that?
2-3 have said this.
2-3 out of how many?
About 50, 60 people.
Okay, well the ratio is, it has to be at least 1 out of 10 for you to worry about it. If it's 1 out of 20 or 1 out of 30, you don't have to worry about it so much. But I'll give you some general ways, since you brought up a good point, to handle objections. Do you ever get objections, anybody else? Let me see. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a couple of you. So I'll skip this one. I mentioned it yesterday, but I'll mention it again, and that is that you do well to honor objections. To do what? No, I don't think you got it. You do well to honor objections. To do what? Did you get it? Honor objections. That means when somebody makes an objection, then you appreciate. Should I say it like that? Appreciate their objection. What should we do? Yeah. So somebody give me an objection. Say your objection.
This is not the original one which you are distributing, this Bhagavad Gita.
Well, that's very interesting. I really appreciate your point of view. Thank you very much. So, why do you say that? How do you mean that?
ये नहीं है. I mean, this we know from our family history and everything. We know that this is not the right one. This is recent.
You must come from a very, very spiritual family. One thing is, when they mention anything, you find a way to appreciate them, or appreciate the objection, appreciate what they've said. And then you may notice I asked you, how do you mean that? So oftentimes people will say things and they're not really sure what they're asking or even what they're objecting to. They don't have a clear idea. They just have a general feeling. So a way to handle that is to ask a question, and the question repeat please, how do you mean that? How do you mean that? Makes them rethink and then say something more specific. And when somebody gives you a general complaint, there's not a lot you can do about it. But if somebody says something specific, then it's easier to deal with. Sometimes, if somebody says, they'll ask a question, is this Hindu? Like they'll say that in America. Is this something Hindu? If I try to answer that, I'll get in a quagmire. Because I don't know if anybody knows how to answer that. What's a Hindu? You can say, well, Varnashram and this and that and the Sindhu Valley, and then they couldn't pronounce it. And by the time person's... But instead, I'd ask them a question. So if you look at a question mark, make one with your hands. With your finger, make a question mark. Now if you make that, and then you put some strings across it, what would you have? Tennis racket. And so somebody hits you a ball, then you can hit it right back to them with the question, using the question mark. Until you get a question that you like. And so if somebody says, is this Hindu? And it's like, what do you mean by Hindu? They're like, well, I don't know. I don't know what's a Hindu. I don't know. You brought it up, so I just thought maybe you knew. And so gently, it's not meant for being passive-aggressive with people, but really to try to help them, to help themselves to ask a question, or if they give an objection, and you try to be more specific. Say, how do you mean that? And they'll say, oh, well, I heard that you guys don't believe you believe in many gods. And it's like, oh, who told you that? Oh, no, that's not true. Then you can answer when you get it down to a point where it's really clear. You have to resist the impulse to like, oh, I know how to answer that. Or if it's emotional, so no, that's not true. That won't further your objective, which is to invite them to take the Bhagavad Gita. And sometimes you have to tolerate a little bit, because sometimes people say crazy stuff, right? Crazy, crazy stuff. I had a guy with his daughter, I think she was 11 years old. I was in Santa Cruz, California, and I do have a witness for this, so I always call on if she's in the room, because she was watching. Shraddha Devi Das was watching as this happened. And the man was a cynic from the beginning. And I told about the book, and he was holding it by that time, and I told him about the donation. And then he turned to his daughter and he said, see, I knew it. They just want money. That's it. Take the book back. And then he went on a diatribe, which means he started just saying, these people, they're just out for profit. And besides, nobody knows who God is. There's no difference between this lamppost and God. He went on for about 5 minutes. And I just stood there and listened. And he came to the end of his diatribe. And then he took the book and he gave $5 and he handed it to his kids. He goes, you read it. And you can't make this stuff up, but I was just a little tolerant with him. People don't know why they're reacting the way they do sometimes, and if you're a little tolerant. And another way that I deal with people when they hand the book back is I always take it back, because once they've rejected it in their mind, then if I try to push it back at them, whatever you resist persists. And it just builds in them, like, no, I rejected it. But as soon as I see they're rejecting it, I don't jump away. I don't try to block it, but I take it. I take it away from them. I'm more proactive in taking it back. But as soon as I take it back, I hand them a different one. Not the same book, not the same title, but a different book. And it's amazing. You can watch this. Somebody will like reject it and then just hand it back. You just take it and hand them a different one. And sometimes, I remember once in Hong Kong, there was a man, and I have witnesses for this too. We went through 7 iterations of him handing the book back, and finally he just gave up and took a book. But there was no resistance. I was only accepting what he had and giving it back. So this goes to honoring the rejection, also honoring objections, is appreciate whatever it is. Some people say, like, I'm not interested. It's like, or I already know this. Sometimes people say, I already know this. I'm already a life member, whatever it is, I'm already a. And then I'll say, I know, we could tell by looking at you. That's why we picked you out. We could see all these people, you're very spiritual. So if somebody says, I already know this, I already have that, it's like, I know, we could tell. We could tell, but we were watching you. And we picked you out because of that. We could tell that you already know all this. And this is in the way of, it's a reverse flow. It's not trying to convince them that, no, you really need this. It's like, they say, I already have this. I know. We could tell by looking at you, you already had this. You must have read this since you were a baby or something like that. Because the way you look, I mean, they're like, what's your secret anyway? You remember I told you yesterday, you change positions. You're not the condescender now. You're the one saying, you know everything. And we're here to listen to you. You teach. You please teach us now. You keep switching it. And that's one of the verses Prabhupada quotes very often about how to present, doesn't he? That verse I have committed to memory, but it talks about how you should fall down at the person's leg and say, you're the most learned person. You know this, right? This verse? You're the most learned, intelligent person. And then they go, okay, what can I do for you? It's like, you forget everything. Just take Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's mercy, right? And this is in the mood of that. These were written by, acharyas hundreds, thousands of years ago of how to approach. And what to speak of, I said, even Krishna talked about how hard it is to beg and how hard it is to give. The beggar should think, it's really annoying to be approached because you just want to go about your life, keep all your stuff, you don't want to give it away, and someone comes up, yeah, you want to give me some of that? and so if we stay in that neutral zone, you try to honor the rejection, nothing sticks to you. It's very difficult. And 100% permission to let people go. Don't be attached. Let them go. Keep sorting out. Let the good people come who are just already ready. As you develop your repertoire and you feel more confident, you'll find that, I'm going to keep going with this person because I don't believe that they're not into it. And you keep going. But if you want to take a little more pressure off yourself, just say, I'm going to pick only the very ripest fruits today. Only the people that come to me. And if you have that attitude when you approach people, you'll notice that people start thinking, what do you have? You're not going to chase me? You know, I'll hold the book back. It's like, wait a minute, where'd you say you're from? Where are you from? Which neighborhood? You sure? All right, here you go. You can have a look. It's more in that mood than it is chasing after, no, please take it, you got to take this. And they're like, no thanks, I don't want it. That's part of the psychology of honoring the objection. Whatever they say, it's perfect. Whatever they say, I knew it, I could tell by looking at you. And if they reject something, you take it back right away and then give them the next one. If they reject it with a specific reason for rejecting it, you honor the reason they're rejecting it and give them a different one, different context. I believe in Buddha. Oh, fantastic. Here, for Buddha people. Especially for Buddha people. We need more Buddha people in the world, be a better place to live if more people follow the Buddha. And how to get away from, well, Chris, you don't have as many Christians here, but fanatics in general. In fact, I read a book called How to Win an Argument. It's by a professor of rhetorics at New York University. And he has this section about dealing with fanatics. Has anybody ever met a fanatic? Yeah? Have you ever met one? I mean, you can meet fanatics anywhere. They're here, there, and everywhere. But if you go in Sankirtan, sometimes you meet a fanatic. What was the fanatic like? What would you say are the qualities of a fanatic? Give him the mic.
He was on the same lines. So he was a follower of Buddha, and he was questioning. He was right from the first sentence. He was criticizing the Varnashrama system, and he was literally using a bad language to describe the entire context of Mahabharata, whatever Krishna did with Arjuna. He was using inappropriate words to describe that.
Okay, that would definitely make the mark. So then, with fanatics, this professor of rhetoric, he said, how to deal with fanatics. And you turn the page and the next word is don't. Don't. You don't have to. And if you start picking up on fanaticism, you know, the meter's moving up there, you know, fanatic, then just try to break it off. So how do you break it off? One of the ways I do, for instance, we have a lot of Christians, and as soon as the Christian line comes out where a person will say, do you believe in the Lord Jesus Christ? Have you accepted him as your personal Savior? And you say, yes, and I want to say something personally to you, that if we have more people like you in the world, people of faith, it'd be a better world to live in. I want to thank you for what you're doing for the world. And it's the most disarming for most people because they're expecting, fanatics like to have some friction. And as soon as you accommodate them, you honor their objection, and you not only honor the objection, but you honor them and say, we need more people like you in the world. They're like, all the air goes out and he's like, thanks a lot, see you later. And if that doesn't work, then if you have a cell phone, pretend it was on vibrate and say, hold on, 1 sec, I got to take this. Thank you very much, and just walk away. You have to break it off. Otherwise, once you realize you're stuck there, if you have an escape route, it's very helpful to get away. And if you have a sensitivity and you're looking more for where's the opening, where's the light in people, and then you try to, we say, fan the spark so that the fire comes out, then you'll feel more engaged and let the other people go. Okay, let's see if there's one or two more questions. Did that generate any more? Yes.
Hare Krishna. So some people, when we meet them on book distribution, they seem very interested. They ask you so many questions, but in the end, they don't take anything. So,
well, one thing is, they gave something. They gave their valuable time. And if you honor them for that, people, I mean, if you make it your objective that everyone has to take a book, then you'll be in anxiety. That person didn't take a book, useless. That person wasted my time. If we think, I got to get the points, I got to score big, okay, that's all right. That happens automatically when there's no residual, when there's no residue of, like, I have to win this. He has to take a book. You'll win. You're already winning. You're out there. And keep presenting. If somebody takes a lot of time and they end up not taking a book, don't leave any residue like, you wasted my time. Try to honor people at every level. I was in Honolulu with my friend Satyadev Prabhu, who I'm very fond with, and we were spending some really nice, we had some intense morning programs, a lot of hearing and chanting, and then we go out in the afternoon to Waikiki, Kalakaua Avenue. We're distributing books. Lots of different tourists out there, a lot of honeymooners. And I approached one couple, and it turned out they were Christians. But I presented the Bhagavatam, first canto, and then they said, we don't believe in this. They said, we're Christians. And I had also asked them, I said, if you like, you can give something. And they said, also, we wouldn't give to you. We wouldn't give to your cause. A little edge to it. I was feeling unencumbered, and I didn't. Have you ever felt that pinch when someone said, I wouldn't give to you? And you feel in your heart like, what kind of demon are you? I didn't feel like that. Honestly, I can say I didn't feel like that. I didn't feel rejected because I was so happy. I was happy to be alive, to be with my friend, to be distributing books, and just to be there. And so I said to them, that's all right. You already gave your valuable time. And I said, if there were more people like you in the world, it would be such a better place to live. And I thank you very much for taking so much of your time. And then they left and they came back. Half hour later, they came back. They thought it over. That has an impact on people. When you honestly care for their well-being, you really care about them, or you honor them from your heart because you're appreciating them, it doesn't happen very often in this world. People are tit for tat. You don't like me, I don't like you. You don't give to me, I don't give to you. You don't give, I really don't care about you now. But if you're able to rise to another level and really appreciate people and care about them, they really feel it. So if someone takes time or they cut you off or whatever, Tunad api sunichena, torot api sahishuna. So what's the third line mean? You give all respect to people. You don't expect anything in return. Now's your chance. You want to practice it. It's harder at home, right? If you live in a home, you get familiar with people. You expect things. You have a sense of entitlement. If you just take away all your sense of entitlement when you go out and just feel like, I'll respect you, you don't have to respect me at all. They're never going to meet somebody like that except in a devotee who's practicing what Lord Chaitanya said to do. And that's an energy that is so powerful that people can't resist it. And even if they do resist it, they're going to walk away thinking, I just met an actual spiritual person. It's not just another religion peddling their books. It's I met somebody who actually has a decent heart. And if you think like that we're going out there to leave people with a good impression, the books automatically go out. They just go left side. People come from space and land in a spaceship and say, when I was walking home one day in New York City with carrying I had a trolley, a box on wheels, and I was walking along, and I have a witness for this, Savas, temple president in Los Angeles. We were together, and we're walking down the street, and a man 4 lanes over, he's car came to a screech. He gets out of the car. He was a very, strongly built African American gentleman. He called from across. He said, "Hold up," which means stop. And so we stopped, and he came over, and he said, "What do you got in there? What are those books?" And he wanted what we have inside the book. He came out of nowhere, literally. Just driving down the street, saw us, slammed on his brakes, ran across 4 lanes, and then said, "Let's see which ones you got inside the box." If you go out the right intention and you just stay there and practice what Lord Chaitanya says to do, be humble, give respect, don't expect anything in return, take away all the sense of entitlement, we're good, you're bad, all that stuff, and just practice this Trinada Pisunichena, then you'll be in a zone where you'll feel very satisfied no matter what happens. What do you think? Huh? What did she say? Totally agree. Totally agree. Okay. Well, then the seminar's over. Okay, let's see if there's a few things on the board. Yes? Whenever we approach people, a group of people,
sometimes it happens like few of them are ready to take.
a few of them are ready to take,
And the other person is like, "Chhodna, leave it.
and the other person's leave it.
So how to deal with
Yeah,
such
that's a good point. So I always deal with the troublesome one first. Always. Because they'll ruin it for everybody else. If they're pulling in. So I really gravitate towards them. And the way I do, I'll take an interest in them. I'll just ask, like, yeah, what do you do? Where are you from? I'll notice something on them. Like, say they have, what's the famous school here in India? IIT. I don't know, you look for something, where they, oh, you went to IIT? Fantastic. Wow, what did you study? You engage them and basically wrap them up. Because, first you have to neutralize that person they're thinking like, I'm in charge here, I'm going to stop this. I mean, that may be a little extreme. They may be very determined and go ahead and do it anyway. But generally, I would say 60 to 80% of the time, if you give them attention, and don't just go for the ones who are innocent and they're open and let them wreak havoc. And, because the other ones, they probably are not that person is the alpha in the group. Everyone runs in a little pack, and then they make the decision like who's in charge of this group and stuff. So that person's going like, no, I'm in charge here. You guys aren't taking books. But if you appreciate that person first, that's the way I always do it. And then once I see that person is a little bit subdued, then you can keep talking to the other ones. And it's you really do have to deal with several people at the same time, but that's the principle. Does that help?
Yes.
Okay. Any more questions? Yes, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. Prabhu, we have practice of doing book distribution on the signals. So we have like very less time, 2 minutes. And in that 2 minutes, we have to like approach 5 to 6 people.
Yeah.
So, we like, when we understand, this person, it is not, so we don't wait there or don't waste our time. We immediately move ahead. So, and those who show some interest, we give time there and we close the thing. So we have the habit of closing the deal in 1 minute or 1.5 minutes. So this practice of talking for a long time or of handling objection or this, that habit is only not there. So I am just asking whether I am missing something if I am not doing this. Because I have the habit, if I am feeling, oh, this person is, why I should waste, let's go to some other person and, where I can able to give. So I follow mostly like that. So if I am missing anything, you can.
Is called the Katvanga approach. Katvanga. So every venue has a different speed. Time factor, it's there in the universe. And in fact, the same venue can have different speeds at different times of the day or a year. And that's something you have to perceive. How fast do I have to present? Because there's a little knob that turns up, somebody's turning the modes of nature up, like Rajas. Downtown areas, near a stoplight, you're talking to somebody, it's going okay, and then the light turns green, they go, I gotta go! It's like, why don't you just wait 2 minutes for the next ones? No, it's green, I have to go. And you have to interpret your environment. What are living beings caught in the three modes of nature going to do? How fast do I have to do this? So with the lights, it's a 1 minute thing. And there's nothing wrong with that. Main objective is to make a personal contact, give them as much as possible. This is the point. If somebody's a little open, you try to pour in as much as possible. One of the things that we bring is the book. And if you can find an opening where they can take a book away, that's a big deal. But it's going to happen maybe 3 out of 10, 3 out of 20, something like that. Or if you get in the right venue, the odds go up. If you're in a passionate venue, you do have to adjust and do the best you can in the time that you have. So every place is different, and there's nothing wrong with that, going quick. I'm going to show a few slides in case there's a couple ideas. And what's the timing? Are we already finished? Okay, can you show a few slides? Yes, I'll take the question.
So during distribution, if a fellow devotee are not feeling confident or they are getting demotivated, so how do we make them comfortable and encourage them, basically?
It's a really good question, thank you. Because Prabhupada told us, he said, if you know how to distribute books, go out and teach others. And in fact, when I joined Krishna Conscious Movement, I joined in the San Francisco Temple. And then there was a party that was formed in Chicago, which is halfway across the country. And it was for those who would focus on book distribution, and then they would be sent out to different temples to teach book distribution, so it's really important. Prabhupada wanted that party, and he said, go out and teach others. And so, what I've noticed is to encourage people to go out for the first time. First of all, I try to take them to a place where it's not too passionate. And second of all, I always tell groups that we're not going out to distribute books. We're only going out to touch the pavement in the place where we're going to distribute. And once we touch the pavement, we're done for the day. There's nothing else expected. So I give seminars a lot, and I'll get more specific about your point, but when I give seminars and say I'm going to a place where the people have come, most of them have not been out on book distribution before. And they're really nervous. So I'll talk about book distribution, like the Prabhu who was making the announcements this morning after Mangalarti, he said, well, there's the philosophy and then there's the practical. So what I notice is, after the philosophy, everyone's going, and then it's time to go out, and then 80% of the crowd disappears. And then I realized where they're going. Their mother called them on the phone and said that I'm trying to think of an Indian snack. I need some haldi-ram. Could you come over? And for any reason whatsoever, they'll say, yeah, I just won't go out, that's all. I'll listen to all the other stuff. So what I tell people is, we're not going out to distribute books. We'll go out, we'll touch the pavement, and then you're done for the day. You don't have to do anything. And I repeat it 4 or 5 times. And in fact, in many places, they have this tradition now. Anytime the group goes out, they all take a picture of them touching the pavement. And then it's a way to defeat the mind, because the mind says it's going to be so difficult, they can't do it. And so you don't have to do anything. Just take away put the bar so low that anybody could just step over it, and they'll say, well, that's too low. And so what I notice is when I take away the expectation part, then you don't have to do anything. Some people, when you take away that expectation, they have to do anything. When they get out there, they get excited because they start thinking, oh, I could do this. And then they sort of spontaneously jump into it. You say, hey, look at that guy. He said he was scared to get out here, and starts distributing. And that's one of the ways. And the other way is to just mentor them. Whenever we go out with groups, I always make sure that if we're splitting up into different groups, that each one of the groups has a veteran there, or somebody who has some confidence and knows how to handle the situations, so they don't just feel thrown out into the environment by themselves. And let people who are learning just watch you. Just let them hang around and watch. When I'm showing people how to distribute books, I let them stand right next to me. In fact, I don't even care how many are there. They can just watch, and only thing I ask is that they don't try to help me. Because, a lot of times I have my own rhythm and pattern, and then somebody's like, and here, and you can come to our program too. And it's like, thanks, I'll take that, and I'll see you later. And so just be with them, let them watch. The main point is confidence. People think it's impossible. How could I ever sell a book? Or how can anybody sell a book? How could it even happen? It just seems so unusual and random that you could walk up to people on the street and sell them a Bhagavad Gita. And when they see you do it, then they start developing this faith and confidence that, oh, this could happen. Maybe I could do it too. Also, as I mentioned earlier, if you give them a template to work from, if you show them, here's what to say and how to present, and then they can just work on the template. In fact, we have a card, an at-a-glance card. I don't bring it here because it's a little different for Indians. But in any case, I give them a template that they can work from. Nitai? It is, what time? It's almost 1 o'clock? 10 to 1. Before you go into this, I just want to see anything that you want me to cover or talk about in the little time that we have left for today. Is there anything that would be helpful for me to talk about for the team or anything else? Yes? Can you do Sankirtan along with the book distribution? Yes. It's a good idea. Prabhupada recommended it. He said, of the two, the book distribution was the louder Madanga. And if you couldn't do them both at the same time, then better to distribute books. Nonetheless, when you're able to create an environment where it's a festival environment. When you have a festival, people walk in and they go, which book should I take? And if you can create that same environment without setting up a pandal tent and spending lakhs of rupees to get everything, you can create a spiritual environment by having Harinam nearby and then book distribution. And we often do this because some people, Harinam's not so scary to go out on Harinam. A lot of people can do that. So some people can retreat into the Harinam, and then when they feel like it, they can come out and distribute books. And the two go very well together. In fact, I noticed once I was in Mexico, and the devotees had a nice Harinam going in a plaza with some speakers, and we would walk around and we're distributing books. And it was going quite well until the Harinam stopped. And I noticed that, where's the holy name? Where's Krishna? And everybody else noticed it in the whole plaza too, even though they didn't know why. They suddenly felt that the modes of nature came rushing in. So the Harinam nearby, with the right balance, just loud enough so everyone can still distribute books without screaming, it can be very helpful. I recommend it. Yes, Prabhu. And did you have your hand up too? Okay. 1, 2.
Prabhu, you sang that song today. I
Yes.
want to ask question related to that. So, while after giving this book distribution, after once we gave the book, we also give that card. We also give the card where that Hare Krishna Mahamantra is written, and we ask them to chant Hare Krishna. How many number of times? So I am asking this because in one book it is like we have the 10 aparad, in that this thing is also there to give holy name to the faithless person is also an offense. So in one book, Harinam Chintamani, there also it is said that Haridas Thakur is telling that you also gave this Jagai in Madai Harinam when they develop some faith. Then you gave, first you develop some faith in them, and after that you gave the holy name. So giving to the faithless is an offense. So I'm just little want to and here we see, and there is like Mahaprabhu is telling Nityanand Prabhu and Haridas Thakur, go and ask everybody to chant and tell them to chant the holy name. So, and here Haridas Thakur says that, first they have to have some faith and then you must give holy name so that, they can understand the value and they can chant. Otherwise it is offense. So what, there is little contradiction. So
what's your question?
Question is that now I'm little confused that whether I
That's
should
not a
give
question.
the
There's
whole-
no question mark at the end. Say one sentence with a question mark at the end. No semicolon, just one question. What's the question?
Question is, should I ask these people to chant Hare Krishna, or I should wait, develop some faith, then I can give this. Okay, from now you can chant this.
Question
Or-
mark.
Question mark.
Yes, you should ask them to chant. Yes, ask them to chant. It's like at the Mahatma Gandhi International Airport. We just came in on whatever night it was. I didn't even know. Oh, today's Saturday. I know that, right? Okay. They have different visas at the airport. One of them I think you can get when you get in. Is that right, Nirkula? Some of them you have to apply for in advance. There's X visas, there's T visas. But at the airport, if you just flew in, how do you do it? You can get it at the airport? It's an E visa. So they get in, they can get an E visa. It's for 30 days. So when some people, you give them this special stamp. This is a mission where we go out and we try to find the littlest bit of faith and we fan the spark. And it's kind of like an E-visa. We don't know, they don't have a long-term track record that, yeah, I come from a Brahmin family, I know what the holy name is, and I'm going to chant it with faith. You look for one little thing, and then you fan the spark, and you give them an E-visa for chanting. All you have to do is just see that they're non-inimical. Living entities are pretty smart. They're part and parcel of Krishna. They kind of know what's going on. And they'll make it known if they don't have faith in it. I'll give you an example. I was in Toronto, and I met these two men from Africa. They're businessmen. Big, burly, looked very successful, really nice cloth they were wearing, like suits. And I was showing them the books. And then I asked for a donation. One of them gave a donation. That's partly when you start to see that they're going to get an e-visa. They gave something in return. And remember I said that's why we ask people, just to give them some qualification on the spot, little e-visa. And then I said, okay, now do you believe in the power of prayer? I say to people. And they said yes. So I handed them both a card and I said, so I'm going to teach you a beautiful prayer. It's meant to wake up love for God in your heart. Are you ready? I just say, "Are you ready?" I tack it on at the end, so they don't have time to think. And so one of them said, "Yeah, I'm ready." So I said, "Hare Krishna," for him to repeat. And the other guy goes, "Stop." He stopped his friend. He said, "Don't do it." And I said, "Why not?" And he goes, "You don't know what's in it." The living entity is really smart. They can sense things. Like you're about to teach the names of God, and they have a deep sense of there's something spiritual going on here. So with each person, our job is to take him as far as possible. Ishvare tadadineshu balisheshu dusatsacha. You look balisheshu for an innocence in people, a little openness, and then you try to put in as much as possible. If they're closed and they won't take anything, then you're supposed to let them go. But it's a risk, because Prabhupada said we're going out to talk to ignorant people. But Krishna understands the risk that we're taking is for him, it's not for ourselves. If we were taking it for ourselves and we're trying to make some profit for ourselves, then we'd be in trouble. But when you're out preaching, there's no offense. If you find somebody absolutely not interested and they're blasphemous, and you say, no, you should take this anyway, and let me teach you, and I'll tell you about the holy name, then you make it worse for them, and you also make it worse for you. That's why when you meet somebody who's got some aversion, it's mandated by Shastra to let them go. Does that make you feel better? Say yes. Yeah, you can thank me later. Because it saves you a lot of time and consideration. Because when you get out live, then you think, I have to convert everybody, everyone has to take a book from me. It's like, relax, would you? Just relax. You're out here as a representative. Do the best you can to present. Be honest, straightforward, be friendly, try to appreciate them, honor their objections, do all the stuff, and do the best you can with what you have. No acrobatics necessary. You don't have to prove yourself as a hero. For me, anybody who walks out the door is a hero, including, I feel it for myself. There's always this sense, oh, you're not doing enough. It's like, stop it, would you? I heard Prabhupada, there was these devotees, I heard a conversation, and Prabhupada was talking about, these devotees were saying, it was their initiation day, and they said, do we have to fast today? And Prabhupada said, you're already fasting. You don't eat meat, fish, or eggs. There's this, you have to give yourself a break and give people a break too. I may have answered your question more than you wanted, but we should stop now, right? Yes. So today we're going to go out and let's talk about the logistics, because that's really important. One aspect of book distribution that's more difficult than any other is troop movement. It means moving everybody out the door and going to a spot. What to speak of, one of the most important aspects of taking a group out is managing the spot. So if everyone goes out and there's devotees lined up down the street and everybody's approaching everybody, then by the time they get to the internal, they've been approached 5-6 times. And here you are getting the remnants, burnt remnants of everybody else, and it can turn into mayhem. So it's really important to have a plan. In fact, most of the time when there's multiple devotees going out, we break up the group into sections and we send them to different areas so that they can have their own field. And then I usually go around from one place to the next and work with each group. That's a better plan than a Kumbh Mela on the sidewalk with me dealing with 80% burnt remnants, trying to show people how I would think about distributing a book in a particular place. Does that make sense? So what's the answer? Do we have logistics in place for today that resemble what I said? I mean the good part of what I said? Can you say what it is? Better turn that on, yeah.
So Prabhuji, we are going to the beach today, and the beach is a big place.
Yeah.
It's a long stretch. So we can split up in small groups, as you suggested, so that one person doesn't go through 5 groups and a mayhem doesn't happen. So
How many people are going out today?
As your experience goes, there would, I feel somewhere close to 30, 40 devotees would be there.
How many are in the room here today?
My
If you're in the room, raise your hand. Okay. How many of you have a sense that you'd like to touch the pavement but not distribute any books today? If we're going out, just touch the pavement. You don't have to distribute books. You don't have to do anything. All you have to do is just be there. Okay, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Should I say, how many of you want to go out and rough and tumble and distribute books? Are there more of you? So you think there's 40 devotees going out?
I'm just
How many of you are coming out today? For sure. So how many is that? David Retta, how many people raised their hands, would you say? He has a mystical power to be able to guess. He points at everyone and then you'll be empowered by his point. He's a good book distributor. Make sure you keep your hand up to get... $60. Okay. You should really work with a few devotees to figure out a really good plan. How are we getting there? You just walk?
Yeah, it's just a 2-minute walk stretch, the same road that Prabhupada used to take straight.
Is it safe walking 60 devotees across the road and all
Yeah,
that?
certainly.
No problem?
No problem.
And will we have Harinam Sankirtan?
Yes, we'll have a Harinam.
Do we have books apportioned in a certain way that it's easy to get them?
Yes, we'll have a book stall, a book display table at one location, along with a stack of books below that, and some books that you can carry from that.
Do we have a variety of languages,
Yes, we'll have 3 languages, 3 or 4 languages.
including English?
Yes, English, Hindi, Marathi, Gujarati.
No Mandarin? You don't have Chinese people coming to Juhu? Do you?
Very less after COVID.
Very less? Okay, it's something to keep in mind. And do you have cards to give out with the Ma mantra on them?
Mantra card, yes, we have
Do you have a way to accept credit cards?
we
instant
have
payment?
scan options where people can do a scan through a UPI or a Google Pay, not credit card machines.
But everyone can do that, or there's a
Yeah,
certain person in every
No,
group?
everybody can do that.
By just having the barcode?
Yes.
Or the QR code?
Yeah,
That's good?
yeah.
Anything anybody can think of that's missing? And what about the Harinam?
We
Is
have
there-
we have a Harinam.
That's all organized?
Yes.
Dave, what any other thing you can think of? If you want to try the language card technique, we may need language cards. Do you have these here?
No, project we don't have.
We can get them printed.
You can get it printed, right?
So dear Prabhu will print them out in
Yeah.
several languages. Or they're already printed.
Language card would work with, generally people speak, most of them speak Hindi, and likewise the audience also speaks Hindi. Language card would work otherwise for Prabhu, like when he would want to speak to somebody of an Indian background. But yes, we can get some of them printed, Prabhuji.
You just bring them along, you never know.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. We're going out in public and anything can happen. It's always good to think of contingencies ahead of time.
We can get a few printed.
Okay. Anything else that anybody can think of that we might need to have? Main thing is to move the troops harmoniously from point A to point B. We'll touch the pavement, and whatever spot you're assigned to, make sure that you get a group photo of touching the pavement, which means you put your right foot forward with your group, and somebody take a shot. And we'll collect them all at the end. Okay? And just keep in mind, once you touch the pavement, you don't have to do anything else for the day. You're free. Anything else you do is extra. Is that okay? It's extra. Any other points about logistics? It's very important. We're all good? Yes, Devarata. Yes, it's when you set the groups up. It's always good to have a leader of each group, somebody who's somewhat of a veteran, who knows how to deal with circumstances and situations. So if you now can pick out, say if there's going to be 5 groups, you pick out one person to lead each group.
So we have a few devotees who are approaching. They can be group leaders, like from other MSF that we do every month,
Yes.
and they take care of it. Like Krishna Preman Prabhu is here. He goes out for book distribution practically every day, and on MSF on Sundays as well. There is Shantivardhan Prabhu who is not here, but he will be leading the kirtan in the evening, and with the accordion and the mridanga. There is Hridayagya Prabhu at the back. Please raise your hand. Raise your hand, yeah. So he can also be a group leader at the back. I am there. There is Abhishek Mal Prabhu over here. There is Pramod Gopinath Prabhu. Please raise your hand. Yeah.
Okay.
There are a few group leaders.
And how will everyone know which group they're in?
Sorry?
How will everybody know which group they're in if you're dividing up and where they're going?
So just before we start from here, we can, basis the actual turnout outside the guest house, we can divide the number of people into groups. Likewise, we'll have a few leaders and Matajis as well, a couple of them. And basis the actual turnout of the Matajis, we can then split them up.
Okay. Sounds good. All right. So, main thing is, you're doing the right thing by walking out the door, and more harmoniously we can make our journey to the spot, and then touch the pavement, and then be a kind friend to all living beings. Try to make friends. Let go of the ones who aren't interested, and we'll just find a few sincere souls. And no book left behind. Can't bring back any books. Just kidding. Dear Srila Prabhupada, dear Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Shri Gaurnitai, Shri Radha Rasa Bihari, Shri Sita Ram Lakshman Hanuman, if you so desire, please empower our team to represent you out in the big world where people have forgotten about you. Please give us an opportunity to give spiritual knowledge and to please your lordships. Thank you for considering our request. Om Tat Sat. Everyone agrees with this prayer in whole or in part. Please unmute and say Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Vanchkalptarishya kripasindhabe vachapatitanam bhavanibhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha nantakoti vaishnavin ki jai.
Hare Krishna. So we'll have, as Broji mentioned, in the evening we'll be going for book distribution at Juhu Beach. I request everybody who wishes to join right from the start, please assemble outside the guest house by 3:30 p.m. 3:30 p.m. You have to be there because we start on time, and please make the best of this opportunity. As I was mentioning yesterday, he could have been anywhere in the world today on Gita Jayanti, but he has chosen to be here. And let's take his association and let's learn by being around Vaiseshika Prabhu, who's been distributing books for more than 5 decades. So we're very, very fortunate. Kindly take out time and please join us in the evening. Hare Krishna. We'll have prasadam now for Ekadashi prasadam for the devotees who are attending this program. So you can wait here. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Also, Prabhuji has written a book which is called as Our Family Business. It's available at our bookstall down at our main bookstall in Juhu.